Thanks, everybody. So Mike very kindly introduced us both, and he talked a little bit about your professional background, but I would like to insert myself into that story. So I met you over a decade ago. At the time, I was running Entangled Ventures, which was an ed tech studio, and so the context of meeting you was potentially to invest in a company who had started called Student Blueprint. I think any investor will tell you that there's a time between when you're buying and when you're selling. And I think the time between buying and selling, meeting you, was, 15 seconds. I was starting to sell myself right away. You were one of the most impressive people I had ever met, continue to be, and I'm so glad that I sold myself so hard because I watched Student Blueprint be a success. I then was able to become an early investor in Guild, and as Mike mentioned, actually joined Guild. And then I saw you build Guild to what it is today, 90 employer partners, 4.5 million learners under available for learning. On any day, there's 100,000 active learners in the Guild system. My mental model for you, Rachel, has always been the Kool-Aid man. Because if you see a wall, you run through it, and then you leave a Rachel-sized hole in the wall behind you. But on August 17th, 2023, you suffered a stroke that altered the trajectory of your life. Can you bring us back to that moment? Can you tell us exactly what happened? And can you talk about your life today and the effects of the stroke?
Sure. So that night I was sitting on my patio talking to our HR business partner when I felt like I'd bit my tongue and I started to feel like I was slurring. And I then fell to my patio and tried to get up and realized my body wasn't working the way I was used to, and that's when the paralysis has started to set in. I then started trying to make a plan for what to do, realizing that my body wouldn't move. And I knew that my aunt and my neighbor often walked by my house each morning, so I started kind of like praying that they would walk by the house and staring up at my girl's bedroom window and hoping I would make it through the night, which I did.
And since that moment, you've been on a journey of recovery. And before that journey, you spent a career in learning. You have an MA from Stanford, in addition to MBA, but you have an MA from Stanford. You started Guild, which is educating hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the world. Can you tell us about what the stroke and the recovery has taught you about learning at a fundamental level?
The entire thing has been a learning journey, starting really with learning how to swallow again, which started with a great nurse named Monica, who one day came in my room and said, okay, you're not going to be able to start doing more intensive therapy like learning how to walk until we get the feeding tube out of you. And that starts with starting to swallow your own medicines. And so she came every morning with me and would teach me how to swallow pills with applesauce, which I recommend for your kids too. And after practicing for a couple weeks with her, I was able to take the feeding tube out, and then I was able to start learning how to walk, first with a walker and now with my cane. And today I'm really working on learning how to use my right arm again, which I haven't been able to use since the stroke.
Rachel has been pushing modern medicine, because often the tools that they use for strokes are meant for people who don't have as much focus on total recovery. And so part of her recovery of her hand has been pushing companies using robotic arm tools to make sure that they have arms, because they usually only help preserve legs. And so she will continue to push. So it's all been a learning journey. But has the stroke made you rethink about the best way to teach and learn other people?
A bit, yeah. They're very goal-focused in therapy and recovery, and it's reminding me how important small goals are, because I wake up every morning and I think about what are my goals for the day, and the therapists and who are basically your teachers in this recovery are very good at that. And I also taught them the OKR model, because I was getting frustrated with feeling like the micro goals weren't enough. I wanted to see longer range recovery pathways so I could start planning my life a little bit more.
And I'll tell the version of the story that maybe you aren't going to tell. You also befriended the head of the hospital And so any of the doctors who weren't comfortable with giving you OKRs got a call from their boss's boss saying they had to do it. Yeah, that's Rachel, everybody. So what are your plans next?
So grateful to be spending a lot of time on Guild's board with you. I'm also thinking about writing a book and spending as much time as possible with my kids. And still working on my right arm and working on my vision and have to relearn how to drive.
One thing that people should know about you is that you are a voracious reader, I think. You used to read 4 books a day. You would always do a what I'm reading for Guilders on the anniversary, on holidays. You just love to read. What books are you reading today?
As I've been retraining my eyes how to converge, I've been going back and rereading a lot of favorites, including one that you recommended to me, like Man's Search for Meaning, Atlas of the Heart, Untethered Soul, and a lot of poetry like Maya Angelou and Cowboys Are My Weakness.
Well, Rachel, you've been inspiring me from the day that we met over a decade ago. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story, and thank you so much for your courage and continuing to inspire us all.
Well, you inspire me too, so thank you.